Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform is making it easier than ever to support Black-owned brands. When you go to walmart.com/Black and Unlimited, you'll not only get to shop products from Black-owned brands, but also learn about founders like Janelle Stevens of Camille Rose, which specializes in products for naturally curly hair. And there are many more awesome products that you have yet to discover. It's all easy to find with Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform. Join in on celebrating Black brands today and every day at Walmart. We are Black and Unlimited. Visit walmart.com/Black and Unlimited to discover more. That's walmart.com/Black and Unlimited.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 53 of the Highly Relevant Podcast. I am your host, Jack Rico, and as always, thank you so much for downloading and listening to this humble U.S. Latino podcast. We do it with a lot of love, but let's jump to the big headline that's happening in the Hispanic market right now. It's Univision versus Verizon, or some people might say Verizon versus Univision. I'm not sure if you've caught what's been going on. Looks like Verizon canceled Univision from their lineup, from their FiOS lineup. So if you have like Time Warner or Spectrum or Charter, that's your cable subscriber. From a lot of people, that's Comcast. For Verizon customers, that's FiOS. And they carry about 4.7 million subscribers, and they no longer have Univision. And that's a big deal because right now with Puerto Rico and Mexico and what's happening in Houston and Florida and the California fires, you kind of need Univision to really talk about the Hispanic news that targets Hispanic audiences. In other news, Conor McGregor, you know him. He's probably the biggest MMA fighter in the world right now. Just finished fighting Floyd Mayweather, made millions and millions of dollars. Well, now he's getting a new documentary called Notorious, which is getting a U.S. release. And it's being released theatrically by a company called Trafalgar Releasing. And it's going to be happening one night only on November 8th. And it's going to be presented alongside an exclusive interview with McGregor himself. I'm not sure if he's going to show up. A lot of movie studios do this where they just do like a regular screening, and then all of a sudden Christopher Nolan comes out, talking about Dunkirk in a Q&A. So I think it'll be something along those lines. This guy, I mean, he's no longer an MMA fighter. Conor McGregor has become a businessman within the business of entertainment. He's a showman. He fights Mayweather in what is a gimmick fight for all intents and purposes, with the mission to just make money off of this. And we all obviously were suckers for it, that whoever paid the $99 just fed him all that money. And I think they probably don't mind. Then I just found out recently that he's negotiating with the WWE and Vince McMahon to do a one-night appearance. Most likely it'll probably be WrestleMania. Fans will probably go crazy. But he's a small man, so I don't think even the lightest of wrestlers would be afraid of him. It'd be interesting. So I'm not sure if you caught the Somos Una Voz telethon that Jennifer Lopez, Alex Rodriguez, and Mark Anthony put together. Awkward, with exes in the same room negotiating. No jealousies whatsoever, Mark? A-Rod? It's great for Jennifer. She gets to hang out with two people she cares about. But yeah, so this telethon was raising funds for Puerto Rico. Vin Diesel came out. Bruno Mars performed in Spanish, believe it or not. Demi Lovato was there. I mean, Ellen DeGeneres. This was a very cool sort of collision between mainstream pop culture and Hispanic pop culture, Latin American Hispanics and U.S. Hispanics coming all together for one great cause. And that was the Somos Una Voz. And I think they did a fantastic job, believe it or not. There were a lot of mix-ups here and there. But overall, they raised $35 million in pledges. And that ultimately is what you were looking for. Lin-Manuel Miranda did a song called Almost Praying that shot up the charts at number 1. So everyone's been chipping in, man. Everyone's been chipping in. Now I just heard that Eva Longoria and Eugenio Derbez have teamed up together to raise funds for the earthquake in Mexico. Let's see how that goes. Hopefully everybody will chip in their time as well. In other news, Rowdy Piper is getting a documentary for you WWE fans. Finally, I'm not sure if you guys saw the movie They Live, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a great B horror science fiction type of movie. And Roddy Piper was the star of that. But mostly, I just loved him from wrestling. I used to own a doll. A lot of my memories of wrestling revolve around Roddy Piper. And this now that he's passed away, they're kind of giving an homage through this documentary. Moving on to television and music, Menudo is getting its own biopic series. Now, we don't know exactly when it's going to air or what channel it's going to air on, but you can count that this biopic is going to happen, and I raise my hand in wanting to see that. This is the original Hispanic Latino boy band. I used to sing their songs when I was a kid. They're from the 80s, and they went through different iterations. I mean, there must have been like 6-7 different versions of Menudo, one including Ricky Martin. And he says that was one of the major influences in him being the star that he is today. So I can't wait to see that. If they're going to really go there, they should talk about the sexual abuse that is rumored to have been going on with their manager and a lot of the kids that have come out, but no one's been listening. Maybe now with the Harvey Weinstein scandal of sexual harassment, etc., maybe this might be the time to come out. Did you guys get a chance to see the new Black Panther trailer? Oh my God. Awesome. Here's a quick listen.
I have seen gods fly. I've seen men build weapons that I couldn't even imagine. I've seen aliens drop from the sky.
Yeah.
But I have never seen anything like this. How much more are you hiding?
Hold up.
A lot of people are saying that this has the potential to become the franchise hero of Marvel Studios, replacing Iron Man and Robert Downey Jr. It'd be great if that were the case. Probably every A-list African-American actor in Hollywood is in this movie, except Viola Davis, but she's also a part of that Marvel universe in a way. And then finally, Netflix finally released The Day I Met El Chapo, the Kate del Castillo story. Now, for those of you that might have forgotten what happened, Rolling Stone came out with an article sometime last year, and Sean Penn had written it, the actor Sean Penn. And it was that him and Kate del Castillo ended up meeting El Chapo somewhere in some undisclosed area and had an interview with him. And a lot of people, obviously, it was very controversial because why are these two people talking to such an evil man that's killed so many people? And they all wanted to talk to Kate. I think Kate did an interview with Diane Sawyer for ABC. I'm not sure how the ratings went for that, but Kate never truly answered a lot of questions that people still wanted to know about. And this Netflix series, which is 3 episodes, it's already, you can watch it right now. She goes in depth. I haven't seen it, but she goes supposedly in depth on why she decided to do this. And it sounds to me like money. But I want to talk to you about 2 of the guests that I have on the show this week. One of them is Mandy Gonzalez. Many of Broadway fans know her as Nina Rosario from In the Heights about almost a decade ago. She's currently in the role of Angelica Schuyler in Hamilton, but she also has a brand new album called Fearless that just dropped this week. And that title track was written by none other than Lin-Manuel Miranda. So her and I basically talked about what that craft of putting her first album together was and what it felt like to have Lin-Manuel Miranda write her first single. As well, she's going to be performing at the Carlisle Cafe in New York City. How is she preparing for that concert? A lot of emotions, I'm assuming. And we talked about her being Latina in the arts nowadays. Did her last name Gonzalez, by any chance, ever give her any difficulties? Well, we talked to her about that. Plus, I got Rich Greenfield on the phone. He'll be coming on very soon to talk about this Univision Verizon issue. He's a media futurist and tech analyst at BTIG, and is probably one of the most quoted men in Wall Street. And he'll break down exactly what it is that Verizon did or Univision did to tick each other off. Whatever they did, it's ugly. It's an ugly war of words, and there's even major lawyers and legal action that has been taken because of this. Are Hispanics the innocent victims here? We ask him. Besides that, keep your headphones on. This is the Highly Relevant Podcast. have the honor now to welcome one of my favorite Broadway actors and actors in general. Mandy Gonzalez is on the show. Mandy, thank you for being on the Highly Relevant podcast.
Hi, I'm so thrilled to be here. Hello.
Well, if you're thrilled, imagine me. The album is called Fearless. It's 7 tracks, comes out October 20th. Where did the idea of doing this album start for you?
Well, I've always wanted to do an album, and I think that as an artist in New York, when you're on your path and on your journey, sometimes you go all different ways, but I think that the thing is to prepare for whatever and to be ready when somebody gives you the chance. So I was doing a lot of concerts, as well as doing Hamilton, but on Monday nights I would do concerts out in New York City, because that's the joy of New York City, is
right,
that anything's possible. And so I had a couple producers approach me that said, we'd love to do an album. And I said, absolutely, and this is what I want to do. So I was ready.
So you were ready.
I was ready, and I contacted my dear friend Bill Sherman, who did the orchestrations for
He's a producer of the
Heights,
album.
and yes, he did produce the album, and he also wrote a couple tracks for the album. So he's also a writer, and so I approached him and I said, look, I'm doing this album. It's my first album, and I want you to produce it. And so he said, let me think about it. Yes. And so I felt so blessed, because I felt like this was going to be a very personal album, and I wanted to be around a team that knew me really well. And Bill and I have been friends for the past 10 years, and he knows my voice so well. And so one thing that started with this album is I started this thing called Fearless Squad on social media. #Fearless Squad. Started because I wanted to have a place where people can go to feel like they had a support team to support all of their dreams. I mean, don't you think everybody needs a Fearless Squad,
Absolutely.
Jack? I wouldn't be where I am without mine. So I thought if people didn't have a Fearless Squad, I wanted them to be part of mine. So I wanted to start this movement and it started with a picture of me and my friends and a hashtag, and it kind of grew into a movement that continues to grow, where thousands of people are posting pictures of their Fearless Squad. On the Ham app, they've also added a photo filter that has #Fearless Squad, so you can post pictures easier, and people share them, and people want to be part of. People ask, can I be part of your squad? How do I get to be part of the Fearless Squad?
It's like a community.
And it's a community, and it's a community based around
positivity,
elevating people and allowing them, positivity, but also, we talk about a lot of things going on. We talk about the issues, but we listen to one another, and we embrace each other's differences. That's part of the squad rules. And so in that way, I feel like we learn a lot. I learn a lot from them, and we grow together. So I wanted to make sure that when I made this album, that it was in tribute to the Fearless Squad, and it had an anthem for the Fearless Squad. So Bill and I got together, and Bill said, I think Lin should write a song for your album.
Now, was that easy to do with his schedule? Because I know he was off in London.
Yeah, no, I think the thing with Lin is that it makes him so brilliant is his mind is always moving, and he's always busy, and he loves what he does. So I thought, hey, why not take a chance and I'll write him and see. I wouldn't want to make an album without having his voice on my album, because he's so much a part of what people hear of my voice out there. When people listen or think of me, they think of the song Breathe. And so I think I know his music so well. I know how he writes, and I know his intonations, and I just would have loved it. So I wrote him a nice letter, and I just said how much he means to me. And right away he said, of course, I'll write a song.
How quickly did the song come to him? Do you know?
Well, we talked about it. Lin had asked what the Fearless Squad, what it means to me, fearless. And so I talked to him about the Fearless Squad and all these different people that I've met through the Fearless Squad. And then I also talked to him about my own parents and their fearlessness and how they met. My father was drafted to Vietnam when he was 18 years old. And my mom and my father's Mexican American. and he grew up as a migrant, and he traveled all around the United States. Thank you, sweetheart. He traveled all around the United States, like picking crops and doing things with his family. They settled in California.
Mm-hmm.
At 18, my father was drafted to a totally different place. And because my father's family worked so hard, nobody was writing to him. And so there were a lot of soldiers that didn't have anybody to write to them.
Right.
So they reached out to different organizations. And my mom was one of those people, and just a young girl who wanted to help. And so she said that she would write to the soldiers that didn't have anybody writing to them. She wrote to my father, and they fell in love through letters, and they corresponded throughout his time in Vietnam. And when he came home, he went home and to Northern California, and he got in his car and he drove down to my mom's house. And
oh my God, this is a romantic movie. This should be made into a movie.
Well, right now it was written to a song, and that song is Fearless. And I told Lin the story, and Lin said within 2 weeks, I think Lin had just finished Mary Poppins, and within 2 weeks, Lin wrote me the song. And when Bill and I first heard it, I cried, and I said, "This is incredible," because this album is about so many different things for me, you know, as an artist, like having an album and having your voice live on is an incredible thing. But then to also have your parents' story live on is even better, because they're why I'm here. They have been my support system. And I think that anybody who feels like, who feels down or feels like they need to be inspired, I think that they can also look to my parents' story for inspiration of people that come from two different worlds and come together through love. So that's how all this came to be.
7 tracks. Fearless starts right now. Que Sera Sera, the classic. Mm-hmm. Life is Sweet with Chris Jackson. Every Day. Smile. And Breathe. Mm-hmm. Can you sum up what the sound that you were looking for is? For me, Fearless sounded... It had sort of a pop, inspirational, but very also Broadway-esque sort of sound. How would you describe the rest of the tracks or the overall sort of sound of the album?
I think Bill and I were very conscious that when we made the album, we wanted it to sound like me. And I think when you're a theater performer and you're going to make an album, sometimes it can sound a certain way, and it's beautiful. But that's not me. I sing all different kinds of ways. I sing, you know, all different kinds of music. And so I think that this album is about paying tribute to that sound and finding the stories as a storyteller that allow me to express that sound as best as possible. And I think that it also opens the door for theater performers who feel like when they want to make an album or they have to make an album, that it has to be this. Because it doesn't have to be anything. It's like, and that's part of me always kind of trying to find where I fit, you know, throughout life, you know, trying to find where I fit. You know, I'm Mexican American and I'm Jewish. Like, those two different things. But I fit in a way because I make myself fit, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think that everybody's really looking for a place of belonging. So I think I was lucky with Bill to work with him because he just allowed me to be me, and he just knows how I sing. And so I think when we were looking for music and for songs, we picked things that would speak to me, because I think when you listen to the album in its entirety, it's very in sync. Every song sounds like me. Yeah, every song has a narrative, and every song sounds like me and fits so well with the other one. And so I think that theater performers used to be played on the radio a lot, and back in the 50s and 60s, like, that's who we would listen to. And I think that there's a time for that again. I think that because of Hamilton and Dear Evan Hansen, and there's a reason that those albums are going to #1 because of the writers that are writing them. And I think that those writers need to be heard on a global level. And I'm
they need
proud
the performers.
To be somebody,
yeah,
and I'm proud to be somebody that Warner Music took a chance on with their new label, and to say, yeah, let's try this and we love your album, and we want to put it out. So I feel fortunate that there's places like that give the artist a chance to musically grow, because it's important. And I hope, and I can't wait for people to hear it, because it's I hope it moves mountains, you know?
One of the songs that I hope everybody listens to is Life is Sweet. It's a reunion with Chris Jackson from In the Heights. And as I read, you could not imagine anyone else to sing this song but Chris Jackson with you. And for anybody who has seen In the Heights, the musical, they understand that both of you were the centerpiece, of the romance centerpiece of that show. How was it combining once again, getting back together with Chris Jackson and singing with him? Were you both in the studio? Was he in LA, you in New York? How did that work out?
No, and what
was that experience like?
Together. It was like a homecoming.
Right.
Whenever I see Chris or anybody from In the Heights, I feel like I'm home. And that's just what that show meant to me. And the friendship that I have with Chris, and the things that we've grown up together witnessing. You know, I was there when the first reading, his wife was pregnant with their son CJ. I was there when CJ was born, not in the hospital, but I was there. And when his daughter was born, and he's seen me in turn, like, have a child and go through different shows and different things, and we've grown together. You know, because we're always rooting for one another. Chris has like a very special place in my heart, as well as the entire cast of In the Heights. And but there's something that happens when Chris and I sing that's magic.
It's magic.
And
absolutely,
it's magic. And I was so excited because we didn't know. You know, we hadn't sung together in a while. Like, we did Hamilton together, but George Washington and Angelica don't really sing together. And so this was really exciting to get in the studio and to go, oh, what is this? And it's like, we just move together when we sing. Like, it just happens because we know each other's voices so well.
What is the song about, Life is Sweet?
Well, Life is Sweet is, in my opinion, sometimes about a relationship. It can be interpreted as a relationship with yourself, a relationship as someone else, watching someone else go through a hard time. It can be your own relationship, seeing relationships go up and down. It can be an experience that you've had that's tough, watching somebody fall that you've always admired, a friend. And it's about, how do you go on? How do you keep going? And finding the joy in life and putting one foot in front of the next. I think that Life is Sweet for me, that's what it's about. And I think that's why when I heard it for the first time, and it's written by Jennifer Nettles and Bill Sherman, and when I heard it for the first time, I knew that it was a song that I would love to sing, because I know what it's like to have to put one foot in front of the other and to keep going. Sometimes you feel like giving up, or you feel like, oh, this is just so hard. And it's like, well, I'm not going to wait and say, why me? I'm going to say, why not? Take all that I've been given and turn it into living for somebody else. Whether that somebody else is another relationship, another family member, another, whatever that is, it's about strength and about, you know, keep going. And I thought Chris is also a fighter like me. And I knew that he would be the perfect person to also sing the song.
Mandy, you seem to be such an inspirational person. Where do you get that from?
I get that, I think, from my family. And thank you for saying that. But I really get it from my parents. My mother and my father both worked all through my childhood. My mom just retired. But when I feel tired, or I feel, oh my gosh, 8 shows, like, it's tough, I think about my dad, who got up at 4 a.m. to walk to the carpool that same morning that I'm there. And I know he did it for us. Mm-hmm. And so there's inspiration in that. And I know about forgiveness, because when my father and my mother first got together, her family wasn't very thrilled that she was marrying somebody that was not only Catholic, but Mexican American, somebody from a different culture. And it would have been very easy for my parents to not forgive their family for that and to keep them out of our life. But instead, my father said, no, that these are your parents. And therefore, I grew up not knowing any of this until I was older. And my grandparents were a huge part of my life and are the main reason that I'm singing today, because my grandmother's love of music and her love of musical theater and her love of just all of her grandchildren. But the music that she instilled with me, I mean, I wouldn't be where I am. So I think I get it from those people that fought for me so that I would have a better life.
You know, there's been so much talk about Latino underrepresentation in almost every dimension of the arts, from movies to television to Broadway, obviously. How has your Hispanic heritage influenced who you are as a professional and as a person?
I think that it influences a lot from the beginning. I think that when you're told that you can't audition for something because your last name is Gonzalez and that's not the kind of character we're looking for, or so many things that I've been told, and you should change your last name because it's less ethnic if you go to Smith or something like that. And I had to immediately tell myself what was important to me. And what was important to me is where I come from and my grandparents who came here for a better life and worked hard for this country. And so I kept Gonzalez with pride, because I know that there are other artists before me that did the same thing, like Priscilla Lopez, Chita Rivera, people that I admire.
Rita Moreno, yeah.
But it's Rita Moreno, and it's part of me. When I'm up on stage, I am Latin, so that's part of my character, no matter what you see. So I think that there definitely is, a way to find where we're being represented in the arts. Because I think Lin-Manuel is just one example, but John Leguizamo has a show coming out that I can't wait to see. Lee Quinones is a graffiti artist out in New York that is making some incredible work right now, as well as other friends that I have. My husband's a painter, so I'm very, I go and I see a lot of things in the visual arts as well. So I think that we're there. You just have to look. And then the people that are there, like people like myself, I think it's important for them to also keep opening the door for other Latinas, other women, to walk through, because I think that's what's important, is also giving back and make sure that that it doesn't stop with you, that it keeps going.
Were there ever any thoughts of doing a Spanish track?
There were, I think that might be for my second album.
Yeah. All right. I would love to hear you sing in Spanish.
Oh, thanks. Well, you have to come to the Carlisle because you'll hear me singing in Spanish.
Speaking of the Carlisle, it's coming up. You're going to be having dates from October 24th to November 4th. If anybody who has not been to the Cafe Carlisle, it's one of New York's legendary supper clubs. To me, it's sort of a time travel back to the early age of the 20th century.
You have to get dressed up. There's no flip-flop for Carlisle.
No. It's elegant,
it's
sophisticated. What can we expect?
It's fun, and I think everybody should have that experience.
Absolutely. What can we expect from the concert? How many songs are you going to sing? And I'm sure fans are dying to know if you're going to be singing any Hamilton songs.
Well, there might be some stories, but there won't be any songs from Hamilton, but I'm singing about 15 songs. Some include songs from my album, and some include songs from the history that I've had on stage, and some include songs that I grew up with and love and have always wanted to sing. So it's the show is called Fearless, and it's a night of pure fun. And it's like a party, but with a couple tears, I think.
Well, we can't wait to go see you. Cafe Carlisle, October 24th to November 4th. The album is called Fearless. It drops October 20th, and you can pick it up on... Isn't it crazy, right, that you're actually hearing your album, and it's a concert at Cafe Carlisle? You're doing it, girl. So happy for you.
It's awesome. Thanks, Jack. Thank you. And I'll see you at the Carlisle, yeah?
Absolutely. I'm not going to miss it for anything. Ladies and gentlemen, Mandy Gonzalez, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Jack. Bye.
we're going to have a one-night, 8-man tournament. The best fighter from Mexico, U.S., Spain, Peru, Colombia. And you got to fight 3 times to win the $100,000. All fighting, all in one night, all happening in November. We haven't seen anything like this since I started the UFC nearly 25 years ago. The most amazing fucking thing the fight business has seen in 25 years.
For many Hispanic FiOS subscribers, a lot of them woke up this week to find out that they no longer had Univision. Trust me, a lot of abuelitas were really freaked out by this. For many Latinos, this is also unthinkable. How do I not have Univision? It's part of my daily life. Well, to explain to us exactly why Verizon blacked out Univision in this ugly war of words that they've gotten into, I got Rich Greenfield on the phone right now. He's a media futurist and tech analyst at BTIG. Rich, thank you so much for taking your time out. This is very heated. What's going on?
Well, look, I think there is an increasing friction between cable and satellite companies who distribute lots of programming and MTV, etc.
Right.
You're starting to see, the industry overall is changing dramatically. More consumers are using services like Netflix. They're using
Hulu.
Services like Amazon. Exactly. There is this explosion of choice that whether you're English speaking, Hispanic and prefer English, Hispanic, Spanish language, preferring in terms of programming, you have, essentially an unlimited amount of choices of new and old programming that you can watch with a click of a button.
Right.
And much of it for a price value. If you think about the price that most of your listeners are paying for a service like Netflix or Amazon, where they're getting video programming and music thrown in with their 2-day shipping service, the price value looks dramatically different than the 80, 100, if not dramatically more that they're paying to a FiOS or to a charter spectrum in New York City. The price value is completely out of whack. And
well,
so
I'm one of them, Rich. I'm one of them. I actually, I had Time Warner for years, and then just recently, about a year ago, I cut the cord. I'm one of those guys. I got DirecTV now. I had Hulu Live TV. I got Netflix, and to be honest with you, I really feel like I don't need anything else. So I'm that guy that you're talking about. Unfortunately, I don't have FiOS, but I understand.
But Jack, in some ways, in many ways, you're the reason. Like it's because of consumers like you who are making this very logical price value decision of
right.
Why am I paying all of this money for this service?
That's exactly it.
And so the tensions between distributors, so cable companies, or satellite companies, telecom companies like Verizon, the tension between them and the programming, which they pay for every single month, are building. And so I think, unfortunately, the viewers that you're talking about in the FiOS footprint, they get caught in the middle, right? Because they feel like they're paying lots of money. They just want to watch the programming that they thought they were paying for. And this is really frustrating to the viewer. What's crazy in my mind about this dispute is that I don't think Univision is the reason why the bundle's price has gotten so absurdly out of whack. I mean, if you look at Univision, I think it's still, substantial ratings, for the Hispanic demographics inside of.
It's about 1.7 million now, compared to 3.5 back in 2006. So in the last 10 years, we've seen a massive dip all the way to 1.7, where Telemundo now is competitive, and at some months and weeks, they're number one. So Verizon supposedly said that was one of the reasons, declining ratings, and that they were doubling their price on these retransmission fees. What exactly are retransmission fees?
So for a cable operator or like a FiOS to retransmit an over-the-air signal, because Univision is a broadcaster, they broadcast free to air. I mean, any one of your subscriber, or sorry, any one of your listeners to your podcast could just go out and buy an antenna and watch Univision for free. I mean, they don't have to pay for any cable or satellite service.
That's true.
To be fair. So in order to take that signal from over the air and transmit it over wires to your house, they actually need to sign a deal, and those deals are called retransmission consent deals. And those deals have been getting more expensive. But where I was going with this is the problem, the bundle's problem is not Univision. The bundle's problem is the abuse of cost that networks like ESPN have forced down consumers' throats, because consumers who are subscribing for things like Univision and Telemundo, these bundles also have ESPN and ESPN2, where they're paying $9 a month, whether they watch those channels or not. They're paying for the SEC network. They're paying for the ACC network in a couple of years, which is about to launch. They're paying for ESPN Classic and ESPN News, and they're paying for a whole host of cable networks from Disney that get bundled into the umbrella of ESPN. And you could do the same analysis for Fox Sports and Fox channels and all of those regional sports networks. The problem is sports. I mean, the problem is that every single consumer is paying for sports, whether they watch it or not.
It's because of those rights for all these games. They're worth so much. I mean, NBC Universal paid $600 million for the World Cup rights. Fox, I think, bought it for $300, and now that the U.S. isn't even going, there was all this chatter that ad money is going to be extremely low. So I can see why subscribers, especially Hispanic ones that just want Univision, not the other sports, have to be the innocent victims to all this digital rights and rights to everything that costs them so much.
Well, look, it's why we created a hashtag called Good Luck Bundle, because the problem is that this bundle has gotten bloated and fat. Mm-hmm. And, you're choosing something like DirecTV Now, which is a slimmed down bundle. In fact, if you're an AT&T subscriber, the low-end DirecTV Now package is only $10 a month, and it comes with free HBO. And so the price value of some of these new options is compelling. And I think, as programming disputes like you're talking about with Univision become more commonplace, because I think they're going to. I mean, I think that's the fact of life for, the legacy big players in this universe, like a FiOS and a Charter and a Comcast. These battles are going to get more contentious. There are going to be programming disruptions. And I think the reality is it's going to drive more and more consumers to find alternatives. And it sounds like you already found one. But my guess is we see more and more of that over time as these battles and as the tension in this universe grows.
I wanted to ask you, Rich, do you think any ethical lines were crossed here by Verizon? The reason I'm saying this is just because of the delicate timing of the blackout. It's Mexico's in the middle of earthquakes. 62 to 67% of the United States, in terms of Hispanics, are Mexican. Puerto Ricans are the second largest population demographically in the United States in terms of Latinos after them. So we're talking about a massive chunk of Hispanics that tune into Univision no longer have this. Do you think that Verizon went a little too far with this?
I mean, look, I flip it around to some degree. Univision is available over the air for free. And so it's not like anybody essentially who wants to get it can't get access to it. There are plenty of cheap options.
There's also Telemundo.
Look, you could go sign up. No, but look, you could go sign up for, you could sign up for Sling or DirecTV Now, save a ton of money versus FiOS. I mean, I think, I guess I turn the question around is the price value of the bundle is so out of whack and is really fallen so dramatically relative to new options. I think the real question for your listeners is, why are they not cutting the cord and following what you've done?
Right. Well, this is what I've been preaching this to anybody who wants to listen. I say I must have saved like $70, $80 a month just by getting rid of Time Warner. And
I think what's even more amazing, Jack, is that not only do you save that amount of money, but on top of that, if over the summer you're not really going to be using it, it's really easy to cancel for the summer or cancel for the month of December if you're traveling. I mean, you end up with far more flexibility. Nobody ever cancels their Charter Spectrum or their Verizon FiOS for a month or two, because the process of waiting for someone to install and returning it, it's all so cumbersome. But the service like DirecTV Now, as you know, signing up and canceling is like the click of a button.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Absolutely. Do you know how much Verizon is saving by not having to pay Univision carriage fees anymore?
It's a delicate question because there is certainly, the longer this lasts, you have to believe that there are some, especially given markets like New York City, you're going to lose subscribers. And so a loss of subscriber, remember, it's not just losing a video subscriber to someone like DirecTV Now or to, a Spectrum, but if you lost a subscriber from Verizon to Spectrum, you're not just losing video, you could also be losing that broadband subscriber. And so the impact of this could be far bigger than just, the cost savings from not having that programming. And so that's really the risk over time. And again, I don't know the number of Hispanic homes or the Hispanic focused subscribers that FiOS has. But I think, obviously given the market they're in, it certainly has to be something they're concerned about.
Rich, thank you so much for your explanation. I think you really clarified exactly what's going on at the heart of this problem. Rich Greenfield, he's a media futurist and tech analyst at BTIG. Thanks a lot for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Good luck.
And that's it for episode 53 of the Highly Relevant Podcast. I'd like to thank Mandy Gonzalez and Rich Greenfield for being on the show, and I want to thank you guys for taking the time out to listen from your favorite streaming platform wherever you may be. If you like this US Latino podcast, please share it on your social media apps. Tell your friends all about it, and if you can, have them subscribe, and please have them review the show. With your reviews, that's how we get on the top of the charts. Hope you enjoy your weekend and stay connected with us via showbizcafe.com. See you next week on another episode of
Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform is making it easier than ever to support Black-owned brands. When you go to walmart.com/Black and Unlimited, you'll not only get to shop products from Black-owned brands, but also learn about founders like Janelle Stevens of Camille Rose, which specializes in products for naturally curly hair. And there are many more awesome products that you have yet to discover. It's all easy to find with Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform. Join in on celebrating Black brands today and every day at Walmart. We are Black and Unlimited. Visit walmart.com/Black and Unlimited to discover more. That's walmart.com/Black and Unlimited.